budgetary allocation to the gold trade regulator. Tonight, all the caucus seeks. Those are the big ones tonight. If you just joined us, you're welcome to Ghana Tonight. You may be watching us here on TV3 or listening to us on 392.7 FM. We're also streaming live on YouTube, Facebook.com, X.com, 3news.com. If you'd like to be a part of the program, use the hashtag Ghana Tonight. Let's bring you Ghana Brief.
President Mahama has ordered the immediate cancellation of all Ghana Revenue Authority GRA contracts with Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited SML after a damning investigation by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. The probe found the deals lacked value for money, exposed over 1.4 billion cedis in questionable payments, and implicated former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. The contracts intended for revenue assurance and the petroleum and mining sectors had faced widespread criticism over single sourcing, inflated saving claims, and weak oversight. Acting Environment Minister Emmanuel Kofi-Boah has laid a new instrument in Parliament to revoke LI 2462, which allows the President to grant mining licenses and forest reserves. If approved after 21 sitting days, the new regulation, the Environmental Protection Mining and Forest Reserves Revocation Instrument 2025, will remove the President's unilateral power to issue such permits. Boah said the move underscores government's commitment to combating illegal mining.
In the light of continued public outcry as a listening government, and after complete consultation and review with experts, it was very clear that we could completely revoke that LI and to use the guidelines that was enacted in 2020. And so that's effectively what I've done today. And it clearly must send a message that this government is committed to basically ensuring that we continue to protect our pristine forest reserve and our environment.
The minority in Parliament is demanding transparency over the source of funding for Gold Board's operation. Despite government's earlier announcement of a $279 million allocation, a right to information response shows the Finance Ministry has made no releases to the board. The minority says this raises serious concerns about how Gold Board is being financed, with Committee Chair Patrick Boama urging government to provide full disclosure.
I got a letter from the Ministry of Finance dated the 29th of October, and the letter was signed by the Chief Director of the Ministry. And the Ministry said in simple terms that the Ministry has not transferred or made any allocation to the Gold Board. So now question now is, how is the Gold Board being funded? That is very, very important. Is it from the central bank? Is the Bank of Ghana printing money to fund the Gold Board? Why must the Bank of Ghana be doing that? Those are questions that I'll leave to you as journalists to unravel.
Ghana's parliament has entered into a strategic 2-year partnership with the Inter-Parliamentary Union to spearhead efforts to reduce methane emission and mitigate the impact of climate change. At the launch of the project, Speaker Bagben emphasized the urgency of decisive action and called for adequate budget allocations to back the national climate agenda.
Experts tell us that methane is over 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide in warming the atmosphere over the 20-year period. So tackling methane emissions therefore offers one of the fastest and most effective pathways to slow the pace of global warming.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Exim Bank has called for investment into the establishment of storage and agro-industrial clusters and the Volta region to reduce post-harvest losses. Speaking at the 2025 Volta Economic Forum and the Volta region, Sylvester Mensah said the region has the potential to become a reliable food supply source for both domestic and export markets.
Gonna brief there for you. We'll now get into a very first story. As of now, SML has no business with government after President Mahama directed an immediate termination of all existing contracts with the Revenue Assurance Company. Let's get into that now. Now, President Mahama's order comes as the Office of the Special Prosecutor concludes its investigations into the controversial contracts with the Ghana Revenue Authority. As you very well know, Special Prosecutor Kisi Ejabing spent hours Thursday afternoon updating the country on the concluded investigations. Tonight, I can also tell you SML is fighting back. Dennis Poaberi is here with more on this story. Dennis, let's start from the presidency, that statement that was released earlier. Tell us a bit more about what is said about this termination of SML contracts.
So this was a directive contained in a letter under the signature of the Secretary to the President, Dr. Callistus, to the Minister for Finance, directing the Minister for Finance to take steps to terminate all existing contracts between SML and the Ghana Revenue Authority. We do know this has been a protracted matter, right from the investigations of the Fourth Estate up to the point where the OSP did announce that he had concluded all the investigations in respect of that matter, and then he's made some findings publicly available, some of which include his intention to bring some charges against some officials he says are culpable in that particular matter. But the relevant portions of the letter from the presidency is what we have displayed here, and if you indulge me, it states in part that following the conclusion of the investigation conducted by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, into the contracts awarded Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, SML, I have been directed by His Excellency, the President of the Republic, to request that you take immediate steps to terminate all existing SML-related contracts forthwith. So it's categorical. Directive to the Minister for Finance, take immediate steps, terminate all existing SML-related contracts forthwith. Now, Keminni, what makes this very instructive is the fact that when you look at the address by the OSP, in his concluding parts, exactly on the 250th paragraph, what the OSP did indicate that he said he was not in a position to dictate to public institutions who they should do business with, and that if they are minded to still engage SML in revenue assurance contracts, they may do so, except that they have to follow the law as he has indicated in the earlier paragraphs.
Right.
So that created a sense that even though the OSP had made some adverse findings against SML, he says that he's not in a place to stop public entities from engaging the entity in respect of revenue assurances. But this letter from the presidency is quite categorical. Now we do know what the next steps are going to be in respect of at least their relationship with the Ghana Revenue Authority, because these are the contracts that we are talking about. But it doesn't end there. SML will not take it lightly with what the OSP did a few days ago, because they feel some of the things that the OSP had put out there are inaccurate. And in their view, they are correcting such inaccuracies. One of the things that they sought to address had to do with the ownership of SML.
Right.
In parts of the OSP's address, he seemed to suggest that there were some political or government appointees and former government appointees who had some relation to the company. SML says that the company, yes, is 100% owned private company, that it has no politician or public official ownership, and that no official, public official or politician controls SML. They also say that all ownership records are publicly available at the registrar of companies. You recall the OSP said something along the lines of Ken Oforiatta being the mastermind and all that. They also address the issue of the contract and the mandate. They indicate that they were engaged by the Ghana Revenue Authority to undertake risk and reward framework, and that they were only paid for verified results. Here they did list the 4 kinds of agreement that they had, 2 of which they were executing, and 2 of which were still pending approval. Now that there's a directive for them to be terminated, I guess that pending approval will not happen again. They also talk about performance and impact. And this speaks to the very core of the matter, because the investigations by the Fourth Estate was to the effect that these people were being paid for no work done. Now, their contention is that they were paid for performance and that the results were verified. So they make the case that all payments that they received were after verification by GRA. They also say that the system delivered results which were measurable. They put a figure of 2 billion to be verified revenue for the states by way of their engagement.
Right.
They continue to talk about an amount of money the OSP had said he was going to recover from them. He put the figure at 125 million Ghana cedis. Now, SML says that is not true, and that, in fact, it is the state that rather owes them. So instead of the OSP saying that the state will go after them to take 125 million from them, they say it is the state that owes them, and that is backed by some financial records with the GRA. It continues to talk about payment models. That is not in dispute a lot. They talk about duplication. There's also the argument which is being made by the investigators, as the journalists and the OSP itself, that what they were doing essentially were things that state institutions were already doing.
Mandated to do.
SML says no, that's not the case. And they're saying that SML's work complements and that it did not replace any government functions, and that they introduced what they say is a real-time digital monitoring to plug revenue leakages in petroleum and customs operations. They talk about their technical capacity to do their work, saying that they employ engineers and auditors and data scientists and all that. There was an issue about West Blue. Yes. And that was an allegation to the fact that they were the masterminds or they were the architects of kicking out West Blue so that they could replace them and do their work. They say no, they have no hand in that. And that, in fact, when West Blue left, it was Ghana Links, ICOMS that replaced and not SML. They also denied any allegations between SML CEO, West Blue, and the former finance minister. The final thing that they addressed had to do with the change of name. You recall that the OSP had indicated that the company had to move from SMEL to SML.
That sounds like smell.
Smell, yes, you can say so. But they say that no, that change had nothing to do with any attempt to get around the system. That all they did was to change it because it was for branding purposes and it was fully in compliance with the registration laws of the country. So, Keminni, these basically are the issues that SML is seeking to address. But it does appear that this has come rather too late because the president has already instructed the finance minister to take action on some of these matters.
I see. When you mentioned the issue of contracts,
yes,
and the president's letter pointing to all existing contracts, what are these contracts we're looking at? Well,
so SML, they were engaged in 4 areas. 1, for them to do a transaction audit and external price verification service. That's 1. 2, measurement audits for downstream petroleum products. Now, these were contracts that were already being executed for which these matters have been brought up. There were other issues that were still pending. We have the upstream petroleum audit. That was still pending. Approval. It means they had not executed that contract. There was also another one, solid minerals revenue audit. That too was still pending. Now, my view is that since the president has issued this directive that the contracts be terminated, mind you, there's a difference between signing to a contract and executing the contract. These were contracts that were actually pending, not executed yet. So it means that these will be the contracts that will be affected. But of course, these contracts had already been suspended for the investigation and the audit and all of that to happen. What I'm now seeing is that just terminate them completely.
I see, Dennis. Thank you so much for bringing us all this information. Now, let's bring in now the journalist who first told the story. Manasseh Azoria Wene is joining us all the way from the United States of America. Manasseh, good evening to you.
Good evening, Keminni.
I can't imagine this being any other thing than good, but would you describe it as being worth the wait?
Yes, it's been worth the wait. And Martin Luther King once said something that is often quoted, that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And I am hoping that this would not be the end, but people who have told lies and they are still lying in these statements that they are issuing, taking Ghanaians for a ride, taking up to 1.4 billion Ghana cedis. This is money that could have built hospitals and bought equipment so that people like Ken Ofori-Atta wouldn't have to go to the United States to access healthcare. And then those who cannot fly to the US to be saved during COVID and go back when they are out of power can also benefit. I think we need to do more. So I commend President John Dramani Mahama for taking this step. But I hope that the Attorney General would be interested in prosecuting for causing financial loss, because that is not the mandate of the OSP. Whilst the OSP also looks at the aspect of corruption, so that at least we get monies back and then do more. I have been listening to the statement that they issued, and I can say it is full of falsehood.
Why do you say that?
Here are the facts. One, this company, I wrote to the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana, because to do auditing or revenue assurance, you need to be licensed by that organization. The act says that if you fail to secure a license, you could be fined, jailed, or both. SML does not have the license to do auditing or revenue assurance anywhere in this country. They claim they are paid based on performance. If you ever interview anybody, I know someone like Professor Jampo has been speaking for them. He will be on the show tomorrow. If anybody at all who speaks for them, ask them that what is the mode of payment. They are taking a fixed percentage, that's what the contract said, for the downstream petroleum audit. So that anybody who buys petroleum products anywhere in this country, they have a fixed percentage. When you go to the upstream one, which was not implemented, it says any barrel of oil produced in Ghana, they are entitled to a fixed percentage. The gold mining sector, a fixed percentage. Those contracts at the port, a fixed percentage. So it is not true that they are paid based on performance. Two, they did not save Ghana any money. They rather dissipated funds. If you watch our documentary, they made some claims that they had saved Ghana 3 billion Ghana cedis. And we did our checks and it was false. When we confronted the managing director, Christian Tetesoti, he said it wasn't true and that the media misreported them. And I said, this claim is on your website as I speak to you now. And that is where he said in the documentary that, well, I don't know of any website matter. We did not go to SML with a gun. We got our facts. We showed that the information on their website and in Daily Graphic and everywhere was false. We put it to them. They could not stand by those figures. 3, SML said on their website that their work had helped to stem the tide of under-declaration or under-reporting, diversion, and dilution of petroleum products. Keminni, our investigation revealed that the GRA and MPA had contracted companies that were providing these services, and SML was not part of them. So when I put this question to Christian Tetesote, who is the general manager, managing director of SML, he initially denied that he said that. So I went on their website and read it to them. And they said, oh, this is not, it's something like a mistake. And what I'm telling you, I didn't go alone. Officials of the GRA, including the head of the petroleum unit and some officials of customs, were all present in that room. What did SML do? They went on their website and deleted those claims of under-declaration, diversion, dilution that they claim to be resolving. The question now is, what problem are you solving if you are not checking any of these? So if you look at everything that has been said, I think sometimes they set their own questions and answer them. If you have the OSP's report, we have page 1, and I'm reading point 5, paragraph 5. It says, SML is a private company limited by shares and incorporated in Ghana. It was originally incorporated on the 14th of February 2017 as Strategic Mobilization Enhancement Limited, SMEL. Its stated principal activities are general trading and services and import and export of general goods. Its directors are Evans Eduse, Margaret Eduse, Esther Eduse, Patrick Eduse. Its controlling mind and owner is Evans Eduse. There is nowhere in this report that the OSP said the ownership is other politicians, Ken Ofori-Atta, and that their records are public. So sometimes they put these statements out. Perhaps people are not minded to check with the facts, and it makes it look as if those who are exposing them are rather lying or spreading falsehood. But this is a company that, in my view, and if you look at the OSP's report, and if anybody is minded to look at the KPMG report, whose findings even try to, in a way, whitewash SML, the conclusion. If you look at pages 157 and 158 of the KPMG report, which is online, you will find out that when it comes to the revenue, when it comes to petroleum volumes, SML has no role in that. And so this is a company that was set up, and perhaps as of the time we're doing this investigation, we asked whether they had any other contract with anybody, and they said no.
Apart from the
except
government.
the GRA. 2017, we are in 2025, 2 years to their 10th anniversary, and your customer is only one state institution. And it is no secret that Ken Ofori-Atta masterminded some of the outrageous deals. There are letters to that effect, because the sector organizations that had oversight responsibilities over the petroleum sector, the mineral sector, we wrote to them, and they said they knew no loopholes, revenue losses that necessitated the expansion of the contracts which Ken Ofori-Atta initiated in 2023.
Very well. Just a few things I want us to do, and also notes with regards to the issue around political ownership. What we do know is the fact that certain former commissioners of the GRA have now moved on to become, managers or directors of sorts with SML. And I think that, it's important we put that out there as well, just to give context to, what SML appears to be fighting back on, right? But also, I take you a few steps when you say that, look, this shouldn't end here. We know the OSP has hinted that, look, if push comes to shove, we have the option of trying in absentia those that we cannot get immediately within the country. For you as the investigative journalist who worked on this, what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think it is out of place. These are legal issues, and I'm not very well versed in them. But I think that if someone as noble as Ghanaians thought, and he's in a big position, we trusted him with the power to perhaps head our financial sector or the finance and economic ministry, and he serves and does things that are not right, and they want him to come back home and answer to the people, and he's somewhere, then if the laws permit, then they should try him in absentia. I'm sure his lawyers would want to represent him, and whatever it is that goes on in court, if he's free, fine. If he's found guilty and they'll bring him back to serve, fair enough. So whatever that is possible legally, I won't oppose it. But at the end of the day, what Ghanaians should seek is that people shouldn't do these outrageous deals and get away with it. I am very certain that Ken Ofori-Atta, who we knew before getting into politics, ran businesses such as Data Bank, would never use his own money or the money of his company to engage in a contract like this. I don't think if anybody did this under him, he would allow them. And you stated rightly that GRA officials, these are top officials, the head of legal at GRA is now at SML. The former commissioner of customs of GRA is now at SML. The former technical advisor to the commissioner general of the GRA is now at SML. So these are officials who perhaps at the time made the whole world believe that GRA didn't have the capacity to perform these roles. So let's give the services to another company. But after leaving GRA, they suddenly had the capacity to manage the execution of those contracts. So the question we should also be asking, if these top officials of GRA had these capacities, why did they even give the contracts out in the first place? And we are paying over 1.4 billion. That's how much we've paid. And if you look at the new contract, which Ken Ofori-Atta masterminded in 2023, if this deal had gone through, SML would have been entitled to over $100 million every single year. So for the 5 years, we are talking about over 500 million United States dollars. And
well,
you
now
have
they say that
officials of the
government
state
owes
paid with our taxes who now go there to work.
And Manasseh, now they say that on the contrary, government owes them about 125 million cedis. How should we as a people go around that?
I think that part of the problem is perhaps that the state has been too slow in going after them and taking our money. That is why they are still talking. If the state really acts tough and goes after them, we will see who is supposed to pay. I don't think the people of Ghana, if you look at page 38, for instance, page 38 of the OSP report, which is online, look at the payments made for the transaction audit and external price verification. 2024, that component alone, the state paid 166 million Ghana cedis to SML. 2024 alone. But we know, and it says 12 months, but we know that the first 6 months of 2024, all the services of SML were suspended by President Akufo-Addo. When the GRA even told a lie that it would affect their performance, the president said, stop it until the audit was done. When the audit was completed by KPMG, President Akufo-Addo gave a white paper, and based on that white paper, the external price verification and then transactional audits, components of the contract, were terminated in 2024. The only one whose implementation continued was the downstream petroleum measurement audit contract. Yet we paid 166 million Ghana cedis to SML for the 12 months. The question is, which month in 2024 did they work when the contract for the first part of the year remained suspended and the second part of the year cancelled? So if you go into this report, and what I know, the state is supposed to retrieve hundreds of millions, if not over $1 billion Ghana cedis from this company.
And Manasseh, just to clarify for our viewers, I mentioned earlier about SML saying that the government owed us some 125 million. Is the other way around, I believe. But SML is fighting back that they are rather owed some money. But also to the point that we're hearing West Blue, we're hearing ICOMS before SMEL and then SML, right? And so let's look at the future, right? How this could translate into our ability to revenue assure for ourselves without repeating this. What should that look like, Manasseh?
The history of revenue assurance has been fraught with issues of corruption in the history in this country called Ghana. We know of Suba Info Solutions that was doing a similar work at the telcos industry. And in 2013, it emerged that they were not doing anything apart from taking data from the already existing system and presenting it for payment. Now these companies and their sponsors in government go about lying that others are shortchanging, people are stealing, so we are going to check them. Ask SML, and we asked them this question when we had the interview, that since they started operations, has there been a single incident? They claim the people are stealing, cheating the system, so they were coming to what? Police them. So we asked, has there ever been a single incident that you caught an oil marketing company or a BDC or someone trying to shortchange the system, and then your vigilance or auditing or revenue assurance pointed out to that and they said no? So if you claim that people are shortchanging the system, companies are stealing from the state, and you are brought in, at least for all these number of years, we should be able to have a single incident that your vigilance, your so-called real-time monitoring, your so-called meters should be able to contradict a claim or point out that Total, Goil, Allied Oil, or this OMC did something wrong that we found out. It has never happened. And that Keminni should alarm us that we cannot be paying so much money when we cannot. If the GRA even wants to have its own meters, all that it needs to do is to buy the meters. Every depot in Ghana where petroleum products are lifted, we have GRA customs officials stationed there. So can they do the monitoring? Yes. Why are they not doing it? Because someone thinks that if we give it to another company, that company will be making hundreds of millions of the state. And this is something that GRA can do. They are doing more complex work there. I don't want us to create a system that all these public or state institutions and officials are so dumb that they cannot do anything. I, through this investigation, visited the depots. Customs officials, GRA officials are doing hard work. There is nothing to show that they cannot put a meter there and read it unless we give it to a company that is formed and try to get approval. PPA says no, you cannot get it. Then the company changes its name from Smell. Of course, it has been smelling from day one to SML and goes on to get these
You really didn't
shady
have to
deals.
go there. But thank you so much for your time, Manasseh. We'll see you tomorrow on Key Points as well.
Well, I've not been invited yet. If you do, I'll join you.
Well, thank you so much. Manasseh Azuriawone is an investigative journalist. We've just been looking at the very latest on the GRA SML controversial contracts. He's been giving us an insight into the developments in the last few hours of the evening. We want to move on to some other matters now, but before then, let's take a listen to legal practitioner Martin Kpebu on the same issue.
Yeah, the decision by the president is spot on. This is what Akufo-Addo should have done a long time ago. But because SML was being sponsored, being promoted, etc. by Ofori-Atta, and I'm not the one saying it, the OSP report says it. So it means that once Ofori-Atta was benefiting, Akufo-Addo was benefiting. So Akufo-Addo had no interest in cancelling the contracts. That's the whole thing. If you read the OSP report, it says that Ofori-Atta kept promoting, and making false statements to other institutions that SML is good at this, SML is good at that, has a track record in this, the various transactions. I'm talking about the audit verification transactions, external price, verification, all the other things. Once Ofori-Atta was saying those things, he was saying those to his benefit. And once Ofori-Atta was benefiting, that's Akufo-Addo benefiting. And so it's easy to understand why Akufo-Addo didn't cancel the contract.
Well, clearly, SML's contracts may be over, but this issue is far from over. We'll continue to bring you developments as they emerge. Right now, let's turn attention to the long-awaited repeal of LI 2462, and it's now in the works as government lays new LI that will better position the country to fight illegal and unethical mining. Natural Resources Minister Emmanuel Amakofibua lays new instrument in Parliament to revoke controversial LI 2462, which gives the President authority to grant licenses to mine in our forest reserves. Now, once it matures after 21 sitting days and approved, the LI 2501 will strip the President of unilateral powers to issue mining permits in forests. Emmanuel Amakofibua, who has oversight of the Environmental and Science and Technology Ministry, says this is testament to government's commitment to the fight against illegal and unethical mining.
If you recall, in LI 2462, which was enacted in 2022 to ensure that environmental management principles are legally enforced in mining operations in forest reserves. It was obviously a public outcry that led to an amendment of that LI by deleting Regulation 32 to effectively limit the powers of the President to allow mining forest reserves. Obviously, that led to the new LI 2501, which was entered into force on June 2nd, 2025. However, in the light of continued public outcry as a listening government, and after complete consultation and review with experts, it was very clear that we could completely revoke that LI and to use the guidelines that was enacted in 2020. And so that's effectively what I've done today. And it clearly must send a message that this government is committed to basically ensuring that we continue to protect our pristine forest reserve and our environment. We are keeping our word. We are showing Ghanaians we are committed to protecting the environment, to protecting the forest, to protecting our water bodies, and every step we are taking.
Let's have a quick chat on the back of this. Awula Sewa is coordinator for eco-conscious citizens. She's a staunch advocate for the environment. Awula, I appreciate your time with us this evening. But finally, we're seeing some, a light at the end of the tunnel when, advocates like yourself have asked for revocation of 2462, correct?
Yes, we are pleased that the LI has been laid before Parliament, and we are confident that with the passage of time, it will be revoked. But let us be quite clear that LI 2462 was about licenses being given to mine in forest reserves. Now, there are people decimating our forest reserve. They are not waiting for licenses. They are just decimating our forest reserve. So that is something we need to deal with as a matter of extreme urgency. The illegal, irresponsible miners are still on our water bodies, still poisoning our water bodies. They are still on our farmlands. So although we are happy that finally government has listened and finally LI 2462 has been laid before Parliament, we are still concerned that we are still on the verge of an ecological disaster as a consequence of the illegal mining, which is ongoing.
Awula, let's do a quick check on how things have been playing out in the last few weeks or several weeks, if you like. We know that NIMUS has dismantled a whole network of illegal miners in one of the forest reserves in the Ashanti region. I forget which one it is. There have been a few other activities in certain areas. But from the advocate point of view, what progress have we seen since that engagement with government?
You see, what it is that it's like, let's take it that there are fires raging in so many different areas. So yes, we've put out some of the fires, but there are so many other fires raging that we are saying that you need the fire service. We cannot keep using buckets of water. As I speak, I've got reports from Atronsu in the Western North region that illegal mining have started. And they are very concerned because they have the Atronsu stream, which is the only source of drinking water in the community. And they are concerned that if nothing is done, they would have their water poisoned. You look at the Draw River Forest Reserve, there's illegal mining going there. So what we are saying is that, yes, it's good that this legislation has been laid before Parliament, the revocation, but the enormity of the problem we have at hand, we are told over 60% of our water bodies have been polluted and it's ongoing. The illegal mining is still going on in forest reserves. So we really need to take robust, swift action if we are not to be all consumed by the fire that is raging.
So what else is missing at this point?
Well, what is missing is that we want all the resources we have to be used to deal with this canker. Because you see, we face an existential threat. Yes, we've now stopped, we will soon stop giving licenses to mine in forest reserves. But the illegal miners were not waiting for licenses. So they are still there, decimating our forest reserves. As we speak, our water bodies are being poisoned. The Akombra is still diverted. So we need to use all the resources at our disposal, whether it's to get the Navy as well, the Army, all the resources we have to simultaneously tackle the irresponsible mining going on in our water bodies, farmlands, forest reserves. We don't think that NIMUS is doing its best, but it needs more resources. For example, the situation in Atronsu, we reported that an excavator had gone there. When the second excavator went there, we also reported. But NIMUS can do only so much. How many men do they have at their disposal to send men to different areas? So this is the situation we are saying that, yes, efforts are being made, but you can see what is going on around up and down the country, that illegal mining is still going on full force. Our water bodies still have the Chanfans there. So we were asking for a state of emergency because we thought that we need to put out the fire, and buckets of water are not helping. We need to have all the resources at our disposal to adequately deal with the catastrophe. Because believe it or not, we're on the verge of an ecological disaster. We've been told that kidney disease has gone up fourfold. There's a rise in maternal death, deformed babies. Our food has been poisoned. We've been told that contumely is unsafe, but it's not just contumely. It's also our tubers. In fact, we should ask ourselves what is safe. And the water, even when it's clear, there's no guarantee that it doesn't contain mercury or cyanide or arsenic because they are colorless. So we face an existential threat, and we have to accept the urgency of the matter and declare a state of emergency and deal robustly and swiftly with the canker before we are all consumed. Water is life. And at this stage, we would not have any safe water to drink.
I mean, the water company, at least for those who are lucky enough, and I'm using the word lucky advisedly because water, as you said, is life and it should be available in a portable form for all of us. But for those of us who are privileged and lucky enough to have water coming from the Ghana Water Limited, we know that the MD for the company has said that they are able to, at this point, give us water that is not contaminated with any of these heavy metals or toxic chemicals as of now. In fact, they have gone on to tell us how they are able to get more water now because certain areas are starting to free up of the turbidity from the disturbance of the waterbed. But away from that, right, what I do want us to look at is whether or not, remember that at the last engagement, government had indicated that they wanted to have a bottom-up approach where the chiefs are involved, the DCEs are involved. Today in Parliament, we know that the Lands and Natural Resources Minister has been talking tough. I want us to listen to that tough talk, and then I'll come back to you for your comments.
Respect our chiefs. But we are getting to a place where if we are caught engaged in illegal mining, we'll handcuff you with your clothes. Any chief, with all due respect, I am one that respect chiefs so much, who does not believe that our survival depends on our water bodies and our environment, and will be complicit in this act of terrorism, does not deserve to be leading anybody.
Well, I'll just go over it in case the audio, wasn't great for you, Awula, because I know you're over the telephone and it can be, very patchy sometimes. What the minister has said is the chiefs will be arrested, culpable chiefs will be arrested, handcuffed, will not be spared the wrath of the law. And he makes this comment while delivering some logistics to NIMO's operatives. If government is able to do this, how will it help with the fight against illegal and unethical mining?
Well, you see, as we speak right now, we know as a fact that some chiefs are complicit. Some political heads are, whether MCEs or DCs, are also complicit. Sometimes the police are also complicit. So yes, it's fantastic if the chiefs are complicit. We are going to take action. But the fact of the matter is that we know right now that some well-connected persons are complicit, and we need something to be done about that. But moving away from that, if we want to stop illegal mining, as we speak right now, we have the environmental terrorists on our water bodies. We can see them. Why are we not able to stop them from polluting our water bodies? And let me be clear here that, we need to understand that when it comes to the water, it's not just about turbidity, because you can have the water, as I said earlier on, looking nice and clear, but it still has the toxins. So in fact, civil society are asking that the water should be tested so that we know exactly what is coming through our taps. But going back to what you said, yes, it's good to talk tough, but we also need to take it in all directions. If there's illegal mining taking place in an area, in addition to the chiefs, we also have the district head or municipal head. They should also be held accountable, and because sometimes they are also complicit, and then the police command. But let me go back to Namos. I talked about Atronsu, and I did say that the activists have been trying to contact Namos to let them understand that an excavator had gone to the landscape, and they are concerned about the Atronsu stream. It's a bit disappointing that at this stage, there's no number that one can call to reach Namos. There's a serious fight going on. We have said that when you see it, you should do something about it. So how do you report when you can't even get a functioning number to call Namos? But be that as it may, I'm also using this medium to say that there are 2 excavators at Tronsu, and they have started illegal mining there. And we are hoping that action will be taken. And so, yes, some steps have been taken in the right direction, but because of the enormity of the problem we face, we really need to have all hands on deck. We really need to ensure that we release all our resources, whether it's our armed forces, whether it's our Navy, to go to the water bodies and remove the environmental terrorists and their equipment. Because you see, time is running out. The window of opportunity to act is closing. It's not that Nemos is not doing any work. They are doing very good work. But the enormity of the problem, we need to act faster, because so many fires are raging and they can only tackle so many at a time. And that is why we are saying declare a state of emergency. Or if you don't want to declare a state of emergency, ensure that you have all the men and all the resources available so that you can tackle all the fires that are raging. Because there's more than one fire raging. There's several fires raging at the same
Very
time.
well.
And you need the resources to put them out before
Indeed, I
we're
would not
all
say,
burnt to ashes.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for your time. Aula Sewa is an environmental advocate and coordinator for the Eco-Conscious Citizen. This is still Ghana Tonight's coming to you live on TV3 and on 392.7 FM. I'm Keminni Amanor. I'll take a quick break. When we come back, the Minority Caucus in Parliament has a lot to say about Gold Board. Join me then for more. Tonight, the minority in Parliament wants to know how Gold Board is paying for itself. The caucus says it has collected credible information via RTI that government has not yet paid the $279 million Gold Board needs to kickstart its operations, despite an announcement earlier. This, the minority says, raises serious questions about how the institution is being bankrolled, and that's why the opposition side in Parliament is calling for full disclosure.
I got a letter from the Ministry of Finance dated the 29th of October. 29th of October is just 2 days ago. And the letter was signed by the Chief Director of the ministry. And the ministry said in simple terms, I'll give you copies, I'll forward it to you, that the ministry has not received, has not transferred or made any allocation to the Gold Board. So now question now is, how is the Gold Board being funded? That is very, very important. Is it from the central bank? Is the Bank of Ghana printing money to fund the Gold Board? Why must the Bank of Ghana be doing that? Those are questions that I'll leave to you as journalists to unravel. If you go to the Gold Board's website right now, you will not find anything as contained in the Act. The Gold Board came into being in April. And if April, May, June, July, August, we've gone way past a quarter, so that all this information ought to be there.
Well, there you have it, a conversation that will continue well into tomorrow's edition of Key Points. You want to see the, let's see quickly, the lineup. Well, we do not have the lineup here, but it will be, the former Auditor General, Dom Level, will be on it. Martin Kpebu will be there as well. They will discuss the week's biggest stories. Alfredo Kanse will be here 7 a.m. to bring you the latest happenings as far as those are concerned. I will see you on Sunday at 1 p.m. Remember, the time for hot issues is no longer at 2. It is 1 p.m. Sunday. And I'll bring you a very thrilling conversation on national issues. I am Keminni Amanor. As always, pleasure coming your way. Good to know you're still here with us from the beginning till now. I will see you same time next Friday. Bye-bye.